Get set for a tough lap in the race of life. Consider the possibility that the fall of mankind was planned from the beginning. Is it even possible that God wanted Eve to pick that fatal fruit from the tree in the Garden of Eden? Join us on a mind-expanding journey into God's intentions for the newly created human race, a journey that may not go where you think. Stay with us. From Chicago's Moody Church, this is Running to Win with Dr. Erwin Lutzer, whose clear teaching helps us make it across the finish line. We're in a series on 10 lies about God and why you might already be deceived. Today, Erwin Lutzer speaks on lie number 8, that the fall ruined God's plans.
I think we'd all agree that sin certainly ruined paradise. But I have a question for you today. Did sin also ruin God's eternal plan? The average person thinks that God had this plan, that Lucifer was created as an angel, and angels, of course, were to serve God, which they did. And it was God's intention that everything go on well, and then man would be created, and he would serve God, and there be no sin in the universe, and everything be happy, happy, and joyful. That was plan A. But because he gave Lucifer and man free will, the argument goes, therefore they fell and they misused their free will, unfortunately. And so God said, since plan A didn't work out, I'm going into plan B, and what I'm going to try to do is to clean up the mess, and this isn't what I intended, but I'm going to redeem and do the best I can to reverse the curse. That's the way it's generally understood. Well, I want you to know today that I think that that's a misreading of the Bible. I'm going to be saying, and I know that this is difficult to take, but I already prayed in advance that you would have ears to hear. I'm going to take the point of view, which I think I can show you from the Scriptures, that this is plan A. This was God's intention. You say, wait a moment. I can't accept that, you say. And then the objections begin to come. And I already know what you're thinking, so to preempt your thoughts, I'll tell you what you're thinking. Two things. First, well, are you telling us that we are just robots? Are you telling us that this whole scheme was laid out and everybody just falls in place and we are puppets on a string and God just pulls those strings and therefore we are play acting? Is that what you're saying? That's your first question. The second question that you ought to be asking, if you aren't, is, what does this say to us about God? A God who would choose this scheme with all of this horrendous evil, with all of this gratuitous suffering, what does this say about him? Can I trust a God like that? Well, as you know, this is a series of messages entitled 10 Lies About God and How You Might Already Be Deceived. We've discussed the lie that God is whomever we want him to be, the lie that he can be approached by anyone at any time, in any way, the lie that he's more tolerant than he used to be, the lie that he has never personally suffered, the lie that he is obligated to save followers of other religions, that he takes no responsibility for natural disasters, and last time, the lie that he cannot foresee the decision that free creatures make. Today, we come to lie number 8, the lie that the fall ruined God's eternal plan. Now, I have to warn you that today we are going to go through some deep theological waters. I hope that you brought, perhaps if not swimwear, at least some wading boots, because there are going to be times when we might not be able to touch the bottom, and we're going to have to swim. But I'm so glad that you are here. And the reason that I am preaching this message is because, first of all, I want us to be able to worship God as we have never worshiped him before. That's the goal, the primary goal. The secondary goal is that by the time this message is over, hopefully, that we will be able to trust him as we have never been able to trust him, accepting both the bitter providences that come into our lives as well as the pleasant ones, that we will truly believe and trust and love him. That is the goal of this message. That's where we are headed. But between there and here, we have some territory to traverse. So I want you to relax. I know that I am preaching and you are listening and you don't have the opportunity to talk back to me. At least I encourage you not to, except very silently. But I wish actually that this were a discussion just in our living room between you and me. I want you to pretend for the next few moments that you are the only person listening to this message. And I am looking into your eyes and I'm doing most of the talking, but I am anticipating some of the problems that you're going to have, so it turns out to be more of a dialogue than you might have at first suspected. Let's just relax and think about God when he existed all alone. Before there were stars, before there were angels, before worlds were spun into existence, before humanity, all that there existed was just God, the Trinity. Now, you know, as we've been emphasizing in this series of messages, God did not choose the attributes that he has. He didn't wake up someday and say, I want to be merciful and holy and loving and just. That's who he is. He didn't say to himself, I'd like to be a Trinity. He was a Trinity. And God in that state was totally complete. Did he have great lacks? No. The Apostle Paul said on Mars Hill, God is not served by human hands as if he needed anything. The fellowship in the Trinity was so special and so unique, and the wonder of his beauty occupied him, and God was indeed content. Now, if you ask the question, well, first of all, how long was it that God was in existence from eternity past, of course, and how many eons passed by before he created the worlds? Or if you say, what was he actually doing before he created the world? Then I can do no better than to quote the words of the great